What's up, guys? Leyton here for UFC Gambling Addicts, back again with another breakdown. The giveaway is available, so smack a comment down below if you want to take part in the giveaway. As far as betting goes, for last week, great card, finished with £200 profit, despite the Arlovsky robbery, which was clearly a robbery. I had £300 profit coming in on Hermansson, hedged £100 onto Jacare TKO. I didn't need it, but, you know, I always talk about hedging. I will mention it every time it wasn't right to do. Anytime you can hedge, you always do it. Obviously, I didn't need to this time, but still did. Finished with £200 profit on Hermansson, so decent night betting. Just before we get into the breakdown, I want to give you guys a little story from Friday night just gone, before the last card. I actually met Vince Pichel on Xbox, invited him to a party and literally spoke to the guy for half an hour. The guy is extremely humble. It was a crazy Friday night. Ended up meeting Vince Pichel and chatting to him. Like, it was so legit. The guy is such a nice guy. And Vince Pichel, if you're listening to this, man, you're a legend. Thank you for taking the time to chat to me. And yeah, just enjoy the breakdown, guys. Peace.
And welcome to episode 29 of UFC Addicts. My name is Aaron, and I'm here as always with my co-host Leyton, and we are here to break down UFC Fight Night 151, Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Al Iaquinta from Ottawa, Canada. As always, here's my co-host Leyton. What up, buddy?
What's up, bro? I noticed in that intro you didn't gas like last week.
Yeah, I was pacing myself a little bit more this time. It wasn't quite as intense, but I'm going to be able to make it all the way to the end of the intro without an awkward pause. Passing it over to you.
New tactics.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm trying to learn as I get older. You know, the gas tank isn't where it once was. Not that I ever had a great one, so you gotta take your measured approaches. And I feel this intro still, you know, kind of hit. I'm just kind of peppering you, Nate Diaz style or Nick Diaz style, or I guess Max Holloway would now be a current fighter we're talking about. All right, Nate Diaz in the rankings. That's just a real shame. But, you know.
Yeah, nice.
Anyways,
let's talk about that main event.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the co-main event.
No, we're not.
Okay. All right. Well, just checking. It was so legit. All right. Well, we'll go on to the main event. Yeah, what a main event.
We nailed it. Nailed it completely. I said he'd take the Gator to the fourth round and finish him. You know, wasn't exactly spot on, but you could say what Hermansson did was worse. Obviously, you know, he wanted to finish him, attempted that the choke in the first round after hurting him. But what a performance, man. And it's crazy because you look at Jacare being a -2, and, you know, I did check the majority of prediction channels who they were taking, because it was an interesting main event to me, but 90% of people were taking Jacare, and that just amazed me. So really happy with Jack Hermansson, man. He thrived in the co-main against David Branch, and he thrived again when given another big opportunity, and this time a main event, short notice. You know, amazing. Just amazing performance.
Yep. And I just, I really feel I've progressed with my picks in main events.
4 in a row, baby.
I know, yeah, well, it's 4 straight for sure. And I know that the old me would have picked Jacare and just said this was too much too soon for Hermansson. But I trusted what I saw and what I have been seeing on Hermansson. And now you're hearing a whole lot of people who are, you know, picking, you know, now all of a sudden on Hermansson's bandwagon, I think. And you see this a lot after a fight, you know, but you just kind of got to trust what you see. And the strengths that Hermansson had really matched up with a lot of the kind of major weaknesses of Jacare. And I mean, but to almost get that submission, I almost fell out of my seat when that happened.
Oh man, it scared me because he was putting himself in a position where if this choke doesn't happen, you know, you could be in trouble. But I remember you saying there's one thing he can't do against Jacare, and that's sub him. So when he went for that choke, bro, I was amazed. And
Yeah,
it just shows the potential this guy has. He really believes in himself, and the performance was just amazing. So
yeah, he's entering that prime. He's 29, I believe now. He's definitely in the prime. He's going to be facing definitely a really tough opponent in his next fight.
I'm gonna
Um,
predict it. I think he fights Gastelum next.
yeah, that would be a great fight, and I would have to really look into that one
Oh, for sure.
before I made a choice. That's for sure. But it's a great one. So, yeah, and this is a interesting card here. I'll say that for sure. The main event, very close.
Hmm.
I think you can say for a lot of these fights tonight, very close.
Yeah,
So,
100%. It's definitely a harder card to predict this week than the Florida card, but yeah, we're gonna have a go again. Probably a few disagreements,
yeah,
and we'll see if we agree on the main or not. We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
All right. And we start at 135 with a name I haven't heard in a while, Mitch Gagnon versus newcomer and Cole Smith. I'll be breaking down Mitch. He's 12-4 overall with a big TKO and 10 submissions in his 12 wins. He's 4-3 in the UFC, and he had lost 2 straight, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. So he hasn't fought in more than 2 years, 3 years now. He hasn't fought since 2016 when he fought Matthew Lopez. So this is the second card in the last few weeks where we have a guy who is somewhat of a mainstay in the UFC making an appearance after several years out. So, yeah, with Mitch, his stand-up has never really been what people note him for. It's probably a little below average. He's definitely a stronger 135er. Good grappling, good wrestling. I couldn't find a reason for the extended layoff, but usually means some sort of wear and tear injury wise, I would assume. He is from Canada, so this is a home fight for him. Don't know a lot about his opponent, but when I was able to look into it, it appears this is definitely a step up in competition. But I was able to watch a few of Cole's fights. It looks like he can hold his own on the ground and looks pretty dangerous on the feet and in the clinch. So, and Smith seems to have a lot of confidence. He's been calling for this UFC shot for the last few of his wins. So I always like to hear a guy who feels he belongs there before he's there. I like the confidence. So, yeah, I picked against Mustaev in his fight after returning from a 3-year layoff a couple weeks ago, and maybe I'm making the same mistake here, but I'm going to take the newcomer, Cole Smith here, and I think he either pulls off a TKO or a decision. So I'll go with the decision win. But if Cole Smith comes in and TKOs him, it wouldn't surprise me. I liked what I see though, so I'll take the newcomer.
Nice. Okay, so Cole Smith comes into this fight 6-0 as a pro, making his octagon debut, like you said. I myself haven't seen much about him. I've seen a few fights. He's very well-rounded. He's fighting Mitch, who is also a fairly well-rounded guy. It's a tough pick because Mitch has been off for 2.5 years, like you said. Cole Smith, from what we've seen, well-rounded, looks pretty decent. So I don't know what the difference in this fight's going to be. Whether it's the inactive guy, despite his inactivity, he's, fought better competition. He's well-rounded, and, that basically gets him the win because he's just, well-rounded enough where he can be off for 2.5 years and fight a guy like Cole Smith. Or is it, Cole Smith looks well-rounded, he's been active, and just like the confidence and the law of attraction, like you said, is this guy good enough? He believes so. And from what I've seen, this is a close fight on paper. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the newcomer. I think the inactivity may be the difference, maybe not. We could be wrong. It's a close fight on paper, but I'm going to take the newcomer in Cole Smith via decision. So a perfect agreement to start the card.
Yep, and Cole Smith, he opened as a very slight underdog, still a slight underdog at plus 110. Mitch coming back at minus 140.
Yeah, I understand both those lines completely.
Yeah, a lot of this really does resemble that Mustaev Fisiev fight from a few weeks ago. Fisiev was 6-0 as well. He was the underdog much of the week till late in the week when some of the action went towards him, and he became the favorite by the end of the week. So we may see a favorite of Cole Smith by fight night, and then hopefully we don't see a spinning back kick in the first minute from Mitch Gagnon.
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, if we see that, I'd be a little bit shocked. But
yeah.
Anyways, we agree with the newcomer and the underdog in Cole Smith. So go ahead and move us on to the next fight at heavyweight.
Okay, so we have Arjan Bhullar versus Juan Adams. And I'll be breaking down the beast in Juan Adams. Comes into this fight 1-0 inside the UFC. Previously fighting on your favorite show, the Contender Series. Take a shot of your apple juice, I'll say it for you. So yeah, from what we know, Juan Adams, obviously a very, very big puncher. Has to cut to make 265. I did find out that he has about roughly 5 years of wrestling experience. Now, rewatching his fights, you can see that experience. He is actually a decent wrestler. I believe styles make fights. So looking at the style matchup we have here, Arjan is also an extremely good wrestler, a better wrestler than Juan Adams, despite the 5 years experience he's had. Arjan Bhullar fought at the London Olympics in wrestling. He was Canadian wrestler 2009. So yeah, he's a relentless wrestler who will not slow down, basically. Come the third round, he may be a bit slower, but he's going to keep a press on you all fight. And that's obviously what he's got to do here against Juan Adams. So yeah, this fight could be over round 1, where we just see Adams get a devastating TKO. Or, this could be a really close split decision. Tough pick, another tough pick, but I'm gonna take Arjan Bhullar. I just think, if he can get to that late second round, get into the third round with Adams, we have seen Adams, have those conditioning issues. Even in his debut, where he got the TKO in the third, he was, extremely slow and pretty much exhausted. So yeah, it's either Bhullar is gonna exhaust him or Adams is gonna find a TKO, I believe. So I'm gonna take Arjan via close decision win.
Okay, fair enough. I will be breaking down Mr. Arjan Singh Bhullar, the 32-year-old. He is 8-1 with 3 TKOs, 2-1 in the UFC. Arjan is pretty much a wrestler, not much more than that. He'll push you up against the cage and the clinch, look to take you down. He doesn't go for subs, as we saw with Wikorik or Wazorek. Adams, big Polak, who got the omoplata after Arjan just had his arm posted on the mat for almost half the round. So positionally, sometimes leaves himself in positions to get sub. Not going to be the worry here against Juan Adams. I think this is one where we have the first round and a half as a potential major advantage for Adams, and the second half being where Bhullar can have the advantage. So I think that Bhullar may have a little bit of issues with the size here. Bhullar's not a super big heavyweight. So around 235, 240. So he'll be giving up about 25 pounds. And I think Adams, while he does have a little bit of wrestling, he's not going to be looking to make this a wrestling match, obviously. I think I just look for him to look more comfortable in this, with this being his second fight in the UFC. Feeling more confident, and I'll go with a round 1 TKO for Juan.
Nice.
So,
fair disagreement.
I'll bet on the early stoppage here. The later this fight goes, the more nervous I'd get for Juan, though. You're going with the underdog here at plus 105, minus 135 for Juan. So,
Nice.
yeah, I'm surprised it's not a little bit heavier than that, but I think Bhullar's wrestling credentials is getting some love, and so
Mhm.
yeah, it's a close one, but yeah, I'll take the first round TKO. So we got our first disagreement here,
Yep.
and I'll move us into the next fight here at 145.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, between Kyle the Monster Nelson and Matt Sayles, which I don't believe he has a nickname.
Correct.
But these guys look like they could be brothers or something. I don't know, just random. They don't look that much alike, but they kind of look like they're the same guy. And they kind of fight like the same guy to me. 12-2 for Kyle Nelson. Anyways, 12-2 for Kyle Nelson. 4 TKOs and 4 submissions. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He took a short notice fight against Carlos Diego Ferreira. So, and he got knocked out in the second round. So, no real shame there. Took a fight out of his weight class and on super short notice. He's now fighting in his weight class of 145 against a guy he matches up pretty similarly to in Sayles. I think this one takes place on the feet for the most part. And I think both guys could have luck in their stand-up. I think this could go either way. And I think that, I think Sayles just gets hit a little less and hits Nelson a little harder than he hit them. And I'll take Sayles to pick up the decision win against the hometown guy in Nelson. So I know he's Canadian and this is in Canada, so I'm going to have faith that the judges are honest in this and that, I'll take the away guy in Matt Sayles to get his first win. I was pretty impressed with him against Sergio Moraes in his last fight. I think this is a quite a step down for him, and I think this is a fight where he can really shine. And I don't think Sayles has a whole lot of fighters at 145 he can be more athletic than more physical than, and I think this is one of them. So I look for Sayles to really have a good showing here and get the win.
Nice. Okay, so Matt Sayles comes into this fight 0-1 inside the UFC. Also fought on the Contender Series. I feel like I'm going to say that quite a few times on this card.
Let me get the juice out.
What'd you say, bro?
I said, let me get the juice out.
The apple juice.
Definitely not worth me, interrupting you, but my apologies. There's no background noise. Anyways, go ahead.
What was I going to say? Last week with Corey Sandhagen, I said that Corey Sandhagen had a very similar style to Dom Cruz, and I'm glad I said that on podcast because both of us we both really put our opinion on a fighter out there or a matchup out there. I just did with Arjan Bhullar. I'm glad I said that because we had Dom Cruz commentating last week, and John Anik and Dom Cruz both acknowledged the similarities in Corey Sandhagen's game to Dom Cruz. So it's funny I said that last week because Matt Sayles is actually a sparring partner of Dom Cruz. He was in his corner for the debut, and he also has a very similar style to Dom Cruz. His conditioning, Matt Sayles has really good conditioning, and he keeps a press on you for literally every minute of the fight. Now, you're asking, if you saw the debut against Moraes, watching that fight, I kind of come to the conclusion that Matt Sayles lost that fight because he wasn't first enough. He kept a great pace. The conditioning was beautiful. I just don't think he was first enough. Now, hopefully he's seen that, and we're going to get an even more improved Matt Sayles in this fight. I looked at Kyle Nelson. That debut was great in the first round. Big adrenaline dump. He nearly put away Diego Ferreira. It was a really good first 4 minutes. But after that, big adrenaline dump and Diego got it done. But this is a really good fight because Kyle Nelson really impressed me in his debut. But Matt Sayles, despite the loss, really impressed me also. So another tough pick, the third tough pick I've had to make, and I'm going to take Matt Sayles. I just think he's going to be a better, improved version of himself, and I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take a decision win for Matt Sayles.
All right, 2 or 3 agreements so far. Matt Sayles is a pretty heavy favorite here, minus 230.
Yeah, I mean, people believe in his style.
Plus 200.
Yes,
So
it's a little crazy, but
hometown guy at 2 to 1. But yeah, this is definitely a card that I'm gonna have trouble really committing a lot of bets to. I'll just be honest there. Just as we move forward, but this is not one of the fights I will be committing too much to at that price particularly.
He'll be in
I'm not
one or
pretty.
two of mine. But it's steep odds. But you know, looking at his training and the guys he's training with and his style and what he's trying to implement, I just really believe we're going to see a more improved version of Matt Sayles.
Yeah.
But like you said, hometown guy, an impressive debut. So maybe worth $10. But I'll stick with Matt Sayles.
I don't know how impressive Nelson's debut was. It wasn't really that impressive, other than they took it on short notice. The actual results.
I mean, he came close to finishing Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira was really hurt in those first 3 minutes. But the adrenaline dump, it was real in that fight. He just short notice debut, put it all out there, came close, but fair play.
Okay, you want to move us on to the next fight here?
Yes, we have. This is the short notice fight we have on the card. We have Nordine Taleb versus Kyle Prepolec, I believe. Hopefully, I nailed that.
Nailed it.
Okay, so Kyle Prepolec comes into this fight on short notice. I believe this is a 1-fight contract because he's actually scheduled to fight Mike Santiago in a few weeks after this fight. Naturally a lightweight. I've seen some tape, another well-rounded guy who's definitely worthy of a short notice call-up. But I think the size and experience is going to be the difference in this fight. Nordine Taleb is a fair size for 170. He's going to have the height and reach, and I said about the experience. If Kyle was to ask me, hey, what is the best path to victory in this fight? Obviously, he has his coaches that do that, but I would say for Kyle to win this fight, he has to keep a press on Nordine Taleb. Even if that means eating kicks and jabs and, several shots, you have to keep a press on a guy like Nordine Taleb. If you give him space, if you circle, if you allow him to be the aggressor, then it looks like Nordine Taleb versus Danny Roberts. It looks like Nordine Taleb versus, most recently, Oliver Enkamp. He didn't get the finish in that fight, but Nordine Taleb is a Muay Thai stylist. He has great kicks. He reads the game well. And if you give him space and allow him to be the aggressor, he will comfortably win a decision against you, if not put you out. Now, if you press him, it looks like Sean Strickland. It looks like eventually hurting him, getting a ground and pound. Or also most recent, which was in Liverpool, I was actually at this fight. The Silva guy, the Brazilian guy with the jiu-jitsu, he kept a press on Taleb and he actually hurt him on the feet, then subbed him. So if you give Nordine Taleb space, it's not going to go great for you. If you back him up and keep pressing him regardless of how much you're eating, then it could go well. But I'm going to take Nordine Taleb here. He's going to have a big size advantage. And I'll take him to get a TKO in round number 1.
Yeah, that was pretty much nailed, that breakdown of Taleb. I'm not sure how much more I can add, but I'll try to add a little bit, and I'll probably repeat some things. But
that was a beautiful compliment.
He's 37 now. He does fight on TriStar. TriStar has a few guys who are fighting on this card, obviously being in Canada. He's 14-6 overall, 7 TKOs, 6-4 in the UFC. He is on a 2-fight losing streak to Claudio Silva, and then he got KO'd pretty roughly by Sean Strickland, which I respect Sean Strickland. I don't think that's that terrible of a loss, but being 37 years old, having quite a few injuries, I'm just wondering how much Taleb has left at this point. He's taken a lot of damage, and he's starting to get older for this. The 170 division. 37 to 39 is about as late as I think you can go in that division.
Mm-hmm.
And he was set up to fight a guy who was pretty much at the same point in his career in Sayer Bahurizada. And now he's fighting a young guy who has much more of a gas tank, going to be a lot quicker, and definitely poses some challenges. And so I think that if, maybe with this being so short notice, that may help Taleb a little bit, but I think that, I think that this is just going to be a good fight, but I think that Kyle may tire with the pace he's going to have to keep to get Taleb, out of there. He may tire in the later rounds, and I think that could result in the difference. So I'm going to take Taleb, but I think this is going to be a closer fight than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Taleb to get a decision. So I picked quite a few decisions so far on this fight.
It's a hard card, bro. I'm with you on the decisions this card.
Yeah, I just I've got to see how Taleb responds to two of his worst performances in the octagon. So he's a heavy favorite at minus 425, and I'm not really interested in taking that at that price. I don't know a ton about Kyle Prepolec. I do see he's had a few fights at 165. Mm-hmm. So, and he seems to have some good skills, but again, it's a little bit of guessing at this point. So, can't take the newcomer here. I'm gonna go with Nordine to impress here. So I'll take Nordine by decision,
nice.
And to get back on track. So I would love to see that Zaire fight. Hopefully Zaire's injury is not too serious, but I'll take Nordine.
Nice.
So we agree. What, we 3 out of 4 on agreements so far?
Yes, 3 out of 4 on agreements, and that moves us into a very decent fight. Vince Morales versus Ayman Zahabi. And I'll be breaking down Vince Morales. Comes into this fight 0-1 in the UFC. Also fighting on the Contender Series, so apple juice once again. And I'll have you know, Brooks, because I know you love the Contender Series. Vince Morales' fight on the Contender Series is my most favourite fight on that show. I don't know if you remember that fight, but he fought Pilate. Yeah. Amazing fight. The first round was great, back and forth. And Vince Morales was like a minus 300 in that fight. And Pilate got this beautiful rear naked choke in the second round. And Vince Morales, literally, there was no quitting him. The choke was in for at least 20 seconds. Just rolling, trying to break the grip. That fight, if you haven't seen that fight, guys, and you've got Fight Pass, go and watch Vince Morales versus Pilate. It is a great fight. His debut against Song Yadong, fair play in that loss. That kid's young, he's up and coming, and he looks very well rounded everywhere for such a young age at like 20, 21 years old. So yeah, this is a really interesting fight because Ayman Zahabi is a brown belt, I believe. He measures range and distance very well on the feet. It's just such a tough pick, man. I feel like every fight on this card, apart from like one, is just such a tough pick because both of these guys are so well rounded. It's just like who's going to get the better of who. I honestly see both guys having their moments. I just think Zahabi is going to be a little bit better everywhere than Vince Morales. A little bit like Vince Morales' debut against Song Yadong. He was just a little bit outdone everywhere. And I think that could be the case again here. Zahabi, like I said earlier on about Matt Sayles, Matt Sayles waited quite a bit in his debut. I feel Zahabi does the same. He waits a lot. He reads and measures distance and waits a lot. So hopefully a better a version of himself this Saturday. I know he's had like a year and a half off since that spinning back elbow against Ricardo Ramos. So that was another great fight. But yeah, I'm going to take Zahabi. I feel he's going to be better everywhere, just a tad better. So I'm going to take a close decision win for Zahabi.
Okay. Yeah, the Contender Series. I would have to think about my favorite Contender Series fight.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good question. But Contender Series does come back on June 18th. And we will be breaking down each Contender Series fight the probably Sunday or Monday before. We'll be breaking down each card. So stay tuned for those as we get closer to those cards, because that is just another opportunity for us to break down more fights, and I'm down for it. So anyway, just a little side note there. But I will be breaking down Mr. Ayman Zahabi. Obviously fights out of TriStar, being a TriStar, being, his brother runs TriStar. So he's 7-1, 4 TKOs and 2 submissions. 1-1 in the UFC. Hasn't fought since November of 2017, when he was stopped by a perfect spinning elbow by Ricardo Ramos. And that certainly could have lasting effects, and is definitely the reason we haven't seen Ayman in a while. So, he has a good camp. He has good kickboxing. But he definitely has a way to put away guys with his grappling too, I think. And I think after a stoppage like that, it definitely maybe causes you to think about diversifying your game a little more and utilizing a little bit of grappling. So I definitely think one of the first things you say about Morales is that he's a tough guy. He's going to look to mix it up. He's going to stand right in front of Ayman, and Ayman will be the more technical fighter. He needs to avoid a brawl and stay disciplined. If he does get into a brawl, I see this being a stoppage for Morales possibly, or a decision win. But I think that Ayman makes it a kickboxing fight at distance and mixes up his wrestling as it goes on, and maybe looks to utilize some grappling. I'm taking another decision, so we may have a few decisions on this card. I don't have a problem with decisions, unlike some people, but I will take Zahabi for the decision win. Taking a look at the odds here, he's a minus 175 favorite, plus 135 for Morales, plus 150 on some sites, plus 140 on some, so shop around.
Yeah, so, I feel it could be a little closer come fight night, and we'll probably see that. But yeah, minus 170.
I think maybe the Zahabi last name may keep that price where it's at. To be honest with you, I think it could. I mean, I do think I did pick him to win also. And when I say things like the name, or when I said with like Islam the other week that Islam training with Khabib was causing, or the Khabib effect was causing the odds to be where they're at, I don't mean that he shouldn't be a favorite or anything like that. I just mean it may be the result in that like extra 25 when it should be maybe a minus 150, minus 140 type of thing.
Well, watching the fight, you're bang on, because that Arman guy competed so well. So yeah, you're right there. I mean, favorite, but shouldn't be such.
Yeah, it's just the familiarity and the awareness, and having the results that Islam had going in. I get all of it, but I think, like, for example, here with Zahabi, I just don't think there's a chance he's anywhere close to an underdog.
No, I agree.
Yeah, in this fight. And I also don't think he is the underdog. So, but he opened at minus 208.
So it's gone down a bit.
So it has gone down a little bit, yeah. It's definitely gone down a bit. So I think it's a good fight. Vince Morales, he's tough. I think he's the type of guy who wins in like Titan FC and all these other organizations, gets to UFC, but never quite has the skills to put a string of victories together in the UFC.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see.
Fair play.
But we'll move on to the 125 division, correct?
35.
135. And Macy Chiasson and Sarah Cheesecake Moras. Moros, something like that. I will be breaking down Macy Chiasson, now 4-0 with 2 subs and a TKO. She's 1-0 in the UFC after winning the Ultimate Fighter against Panini Kianzad with a rear naked choke. She followed that up with a TKO in the first of Gina Mazzani. And so you definitely can say with Macy, who's quite green still in MMA, that she's looking better and better in there with each fight. She won the Ultimate Fighter at 145 and looked impressive through a run on the show. And then she's looked to carry that strength and overall size down to 135. And she, and Gina, I just think that, I think that Gina Mazzani, she had shown she had struggled with grapplers, and Macy chose to use her stand-up and end it with her strikes anyways. So I think that showed a real confidence in Macy's overall game. I think Macy showed that she can do more than just grapple. She can also knock you out. And now she has her first one, and I think she could get her second in this one. But I'm going to take a finish by submission, actually. So I'm going to take a second round sub for Miss Macy Chiasson over Sarah Moras.
Nice. Okay, so Sarah Morris? I'm going to say Morris. Comes into this fight, 1 win, 3 losses inside the UFC. She's not the most pleasing to watch. But she does a good job at what she's trying to do. She's trying to wear you down. She'll look for takedowns because she has a good ground game. She has good jiu-jitsu. She'll look to wear on you on the fence, and just basically grind. But she's like a pretty grinder, if that makes sense. She's not like her face is going to get bloodied every fight kind of grind. She's a decent grinder, but despite her 1-3 inside the UFC. Looking at the fight, I believe in Macy. I call her the female version of MGK. If you take a look at her, you'll see it too. So yeah, her Ultimate Fighter fight, she fought at 145. She's 5'11", so you could say it's a 145er fighting at 135. And you do see that, you saw it against Gina, and she's staying at 135. She's a powerful girl. She's got submissions. And just like you said, she's looking better and better each fight. And she can apparently finish you. She has some legit power in her boxing. This fight, I have to be confident picking in this fight. If I'm not confident picking in this fight, I can't be confident in any other fight. So yeah, Macy. I'm going to take Macy, MGK, same round as you, but I'm going to take a TKO. So I'll take MGK, TKO, round 2.
Okay. I don't think Sarah's been stopped by strikes, has she?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. So that was just part of why I was going with the grappling, and I think this is going to be a lot more of a chest test than Gina Mazzani was. So I think she may go to her strength, which I think is slightly still the grappling, but with regards to the finishing ability. But we'll see. But yeah, this is a minus 625 favorite here.
Oh.
So
MGK.
Plus,
wow.
Yeah, plus 420. Light up at home for Miss Sarah Cheesecake.
Bro.
Yeah, of course. And so yeah, that is. I'm going to assume that's the biggest favorite on the card. And rightfully so. Yeah. I think she should be the biggest favorite. I don't know about being minus 600, but I don't know if anybody should be minus 600 in MMA. That's just my opinion.
I mean, if Sarah can take her to like round 3 and maybe wear on her like she had been in round 2 and round 1, and that's obviously the perfect fight
Macy's
for Sarah.
She's only fought 4 professional fights. So
Yeah, it could happen, but we're going to
plenty
stick
of
with MGK.
yeah, there's plenty of positions and situations Macy's never been in her career that could test her. So, but yeah, we've got to. Yeah,
MGK. Let's do it.
yeah, exactly. So,
Okay,
moving here.
lead us off into this next one because I'm not going to attempt that name.
Okay, we are at 185, correct?
Correct.
And this is between Andrew Alderte Sanchez and Marc-Andre Barriault is what I'm going to go with.
Okay, seems
Uh,
legit.
and so I will be breaking down Marc-Andre Barriault, the newcomer. He's a Canadian. Not sure where in Canada he's from, but I know he's Canadian. He is 29 years old, 6'1", making his debut, 11-1 overall, 8 TKOs. So this guy making his UFC debut looks to have some really heavy hands, really, really excellent looking double leg takedown to go with it that I've seen him use in several fights to dump his opponent. He looks to have some power on top. He lays down legit ground and pound. He's had most of his fights in Canada, so I think he could have a little hometown crowd on his side for this fight, I'd say. He appears to have fought some decent competition. The last guy he fought was 7-1, and had been actually known as a pretty decent finisher. And Adam Hunter, who was actually on his way to the UFC before he got flagged by USADA. So that was the last guy Marc-Andre fought and put away. Also, he's gone 5 rounds and 3 rounds on multiple occasions. So seems like a guy who hits hard, is in also decent to good shape. He's competed at 205 also, so he's used to fighting bigger and stronger guys. So Sanchez being a former 205er also, the size and strength shouldn't be a factor for Barriault here. He should be able to handle it. And I think, like I said, he beat a guy in Adam Hunter who was on his way to UFC. And so he's faced legit competition leading up here. He didn't face some like 8-9 guy or something to get into UFC. And in case it's not clear, I think this guy looks pretty dangerous, and look to see him looking to wrestle Sanchez before Sanchez looks to wrestle him. So, and it may be a key of who's more aggressive on the feet between the grappling exchanges, because they may kind of cancel each other out. And I'm going to take the newcomer to stop Andrew Sanchez, and I'll take a round 2 Savage by TKO this time. So I think we could have a legit new prospect or new contender / prospect here at 185. And Marc-Andre Power Bar is his nickname, Barriault.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, so Andrew Sanchez, 2-2 inside the UFC.
Sorry for in the background.
That's sweet, bro.
I live in Washington, D.C., capital.
Okay, so 2-2 inside the UFC. He's a good wrestler from what we've seen. Very good wrestler. And just like his opponent, he actually has heavy hands for 185. So, both guys hit very hard. Looking at Andrew Sanchez, his best path to victory would, be grappling, try to wrestle, get a few takedowns in round 1. If he does that, then I'm assuming, round 2 and 3, he's going to have Mark, tired, and, he's able to still get the takedowns. If he doesn't wrestle, he could wrestle later on, round 2 and 3. So, the first round's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I feel like the first round's going to be pure fireworks. I recently predicted a fight not too long ago, Edmund Shabazian versus Charles Bird. I said, I don't know who's going to win. I feel Edmund's going to win. It could be Charles, but I feel like there's going to be a quick TKO in round 1. And Edmund got that. I feel like this is going to be similar. I feel like I don't know what's going to happen too much, but something's going to happen big in round number 1. Both guys hit very hard. Like I said, if Andrew Sanchez is really thinking about this fight, he's going to look to grapple. We have seen, in that fight against Ryan James, he hit Ryan with like 60 significant strikes in that first round. He put him down twice. I'm pretty sure the fight should have been stopped in that first round, but emptied the tank in round one, went on to get TKO'd in round three. So, after that fight, he looked better conditioning wise, but he didn't try to finish Marcus Perez like straight off the bat. But I just feel, both these guys hit very hard. I think someone's going to get hurt in round number one. And I think it's going to be Andrew Sanchez. So I'm going to take the newcomer, Marc Andre, via TKO in round number one.
All right. We are going with the underdog at plus 120. And Sanchez minus 140. Opened up with Marc Andre as the favorite at minus 150. So it's flipped. But
I agree with those odds. That's fine. Andrew Sanchez has good wrestling. If he can implement it, you don't know.
I think both guys have pretty good wrestling. I think it may be about who shoots first, who may have the success with the wrestling, or maybe the grappling's canceled out and it's down to the stand-up.
It's an interesting fight. Really good fight to start the main card as well.
Yeah, we got, 6 or 7 agreements so far on a really close card. So,
yeah.
Imagine that. So, we're moving on to the heavyweight division, and this is an interesting one between Walt Big Ticket Harris and Sergey Spivak. Spivak? I'll go with that, sure. I will be breaking down Big Ticket Walt Harris. He's 12-7 with 11 TKOs in those 12 wins. 5-4 in the UFC, with his best wins being a very questionable, but he did get the split over Andrei Arlovski and a win over Chase Sherman. I could say that this guy's fights do not tend to go to distance, so there's that, but then his last fight with Arlovski happened, so that kind of canceled that out. But he just doesn't beat the highest caliber of opponents. And while Andre's at an advanced stage in his career, I think he's still more than hung in there with Walt Harris. I honestly think he won that fight. But I think that Walt has low quit drive in him when he gets hurt and pushed. And so I see that being the key. And if Sergey can do either or both of those, I think that he can win this fight. I'm just not sure, though, that he does it, but I'm actually going to take Sergey because Sergey has fought some real veterans in MMA, and Tony Lopez and Travis Fulton, both guys who've lost more than 30 fights each, but they've also had over 100 each almost, well, at least Fulton. And so I think that, I just think that Sergey is just a little more complete MMAer. I think he can take down Walt Harris and sub him in the first round. So I'll take a first round submission for the newcomer, Sergey.
Nice. Okay, so Sergey Spivak comes into this fight 9-0 as a pro, making his octagon debut. He's a young guy, a very decent heavyweight from what I've seen. He's submitting guys, he's TKOing guys. So I'd say the call to the UFC is a fair call up. He's very well rounded, like I said. When I break down fights, I watch both guys, obviously. Even though we know about Walt Harris, I still go back and watch those fights. And one thing I've really noticed in Walt Harris is he is a very, very light heavyweight on his feet. He's not a light heavyweight, he's a heavyweight. But he's a light heavyweight. He moves very lightly. He's always bouncing on his feet. Former basketball player. So this completely explains it. And one thing I noticed from his game is he throws a lot of kicks. He goes calf, body, and he's throwing a few head kicks each round. So, I looked at Walt Harris as just this big hitter who's well-rounded, but it appears I've, misjudged his stand-up a little bit. He's a very decent guy going toe-to-toe with anyone. And like I said, the newcomer, the kid's young, he's finishing guys, and he looks very well-rounded as well. You bring up the point that Walt Harris doesn't like to get hurt. That could be a legit point here. It's another really tough pick. It's a good fight, man. It's a real good fight. Um, but yeah, I was more impressed watching Walt Harris. I feel his stand-up, his high kicks. Yeah, I'm really impressed with rewatching Walt Harris. So I'm going to take a decision win for Walt Harris.
Okay. So our second disagreement of the night comes with Walt Harris and Sergey Spivak.
Yep.
Walt Harris is the favorite at minus 155. Sergey coming back at plus 125. So
That's
pretty close fight.
Yeah, that's well, it's fair odds, I guess. I mean, I was impressed with watching Walt Harris again, but like I said, the newcomer also impressive young heavyweight. So could see a shift in odds there, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with Walt Harris on this one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to the 135 division, and we got a good one here in Brad Katona versus Mirab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili. Sorry.
Nailed it.
And I will be breaking down Brad Superman Katona, the 27-year-old fighting out of SBG. He is 8-0 now. He's 1-0 in the UFC. He won his season of the Ultimate Fighter at featherweight. He appears to be very well-rounded and a very good technical fighter. Seems very intelligent, very composed in there. Seems to really do his homework on his opponent prior to a fight. In his fight against Lopez, it was really a technical versus brawler fight, and he passed with flying colors. And I'm looking forward to see how Brad Katona does here against a heavy wrestler. He's got good stand-up and takedowns himself, so I think that can be a way he can counter Mirab. I was able to see he was able to sub Bryce Mitchell, who has shown his grappling while he was on The Ultimate Fighter. So he seems like he's really sharp, intelligent. I'll take him to be able to control where this fight goes and get a hard-fought decision in what I'll assume is an upset over Mirab.
Nice.
So, upset for Katona.
Nice, okay. Mirab comes into this fight, 1 win, 2 losses inside the UFC. By the way, you pretty much nailed that breakdown. I pretty much agreed with 98% of what you said there. So yeah, Mirab, he's a relentless wrestler. His conditioning is great. You'd expect all 135ers to have great conditioning, but that's not the case. But for Mirab it is. He has great conditioning. His stand-up is, I would say his stand-up is reckless. He just throws like mad spinning kicks. He's throwing looping bombs. His stand-up is pretty reckless until he gets in close encounters with you, and then he'll show that relentless wrestling again. I'm a fan of Mirab. We both watched that Mirab versus Ricky Simone fight, which was crazy. With the choke at the end where he was out, but he won, but he didn't because he was out. That we will always speak about that and have a good time chatting about that.
Yeah.
But Brad Katona,
he was out 3 times.
Yeah, he hung on, bro. He hung on.
No, he didn't. He was just on his back laying down. So he was out.
Now this goes back to Robbie Lawler and Ben Askren again. We don't want to start a war.
This was so much worse than that.
It was. Okay, I don't want to get into it.
You're one of these people who thinks Mike Chiasson wasn't out against Kevin Lee, too. So,
no,
whatever.
He was definitely out there. He was flapping like a fish. Okay, so Brad Katona. I also believe he has great conditioning. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter at 145, where you could see he was not a 145er. He's a 135er. I believe he's fighting at a TriStar. He trains, with great guys. His stand-up looks very technical. His boxing is very technical. So, this is a matter of, can Brad Katona stuff a few takedowns? If he does, I see him winning a close decision. But if Mirab was going to win, I'd say he would need a takedown or 2 every round. So it's, one or the other there. But I'm going to agree with you again. I'm going to take Brad Katona to win a fairly close decision because I'm a fan of Merab and I think he's a great relentless wrestler. So I could be wrong here, but I like Brad Katona, so I'm going to take a decision for Brad.
Yeah, I thought we were going to disagree on that one for sure.
It's a real good fight, bro.
Yeah, Merab is the favorite at -160. Wow. Brad Katona coming back at +125. So I have a few underdogs on this. I've picked 3 straight underdogs here.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. -160 from Merab.
I mean, maybe they're thinking he's not. Maybe I don't know. They must be thinking that Merab's just going to out grapple him and be stronger.
Well, Brad has great conditioning too, so we'll see. That's interesting.
It's a good fight though. I'm looking forward to it. But that is an underdog I would expect to get a lot of action as the week goes on. So if you believe in him, get him now because I don't think you'll get a better price than +125.
Completely agree. Okay, so moving on to the 10th fight of the card, Cub Swanson versus Shane Burgos, and I'll be breaking down the veteran. Comes into this fight 10 wins, 6 losses in the UFC. Basically a veteran of 145. There's not much you don't know about Cub Swanson. Like, he can take you down, he can box with you, he's seasoned everywhere. But, you know, my question for Cub would be, is his heart still in it? Like, you know, he's just been fighting all these guys at 145, and you look at his last 2 fights, and the one against Frankie Edgar was, he was so not there. I think he was like ill fight week, but he was just so not there. And then against Moicano, just, you know, that stiff jab straight down the middle. It's hard to pick Cub Swanson, but he's a veteran, man. Shane Burgos, really good technical boxing. I'd like to see more kicks in his game. Definitely more kicks. But
Chico
can't decide, bro.
more kicks. He's a big fan of leg kicks.
Yeah, so watching Shane Burgos
up here about those. Hang on, we'll see. But
yeah, so Shane Burgos, man, you know, great boxing. You saw it against Calvin Kattar. Yeah, more kicks, man.
Hang on. Yeah, more leg kicks. I agree, Chico. Wouldn't be a card without him.
So yeah, sorry
about that, everybody.
Yeah, that's all right, bro. It's a tough pick for me, but I'm gonna take Shane via TKO to use that technical boxing. I'm gonna take it in round number 2. So Shane via TKO, round 2. Okay,
fair enough. Sorry about the barking there. I will be breaking down Shane Hurricane Burgos, the 27-year-old fighting Tiger Schulman, is 11-1 with 4 TKOs and 5 submissions in his 11 wins. So he is 4-1 now in the UFC. He's beaten Godfredo Pepe and Charles Rosa. He had a great performance in his last fight where he was able to get the submission. And yeah, I think one fight that and the submission came against, a guy whose name I have to say again, although I don't really know how to say it, Kurt Hullabaloo. I remember we'd agreed that I would not learn his name if he didn't win his next fight, and he didn't. So it's Kurt Hullabaloo. And that fight, he really showed me that he was able to rebound from a tough loss against Calvin Kattar, where he was put away in the 3rd round, and show he could learn from that fight, make adjustments, and also maintain his confidence. So when you were talking about Cub Swanson, you were questioning Cub Swanson's heart and desire to still be in the fight game, with all due respect, and I understand those questions. You don't have those questions with a guy like Shane Burgos. You can remember the fight where he had his hair cut off in the middle of the fight for some reason. I I think that was his UFC debut that happened in. But just the way he fights, you can tell that dude just wants to be in there, and he wants to be a fighter. So I think these are guys who are heading in total opposite directions with regards to their desire and overall directions in their careers, and where they're at. I mean, Shane Burgos is 27 years old. What is Cub Swanson, 36?
It's got to be now.
Yeah, and it's a long 36. He's taken, and there's a reason that some people have questioned his desire in some of these fights lately. I'm going to take Burgos, and I'm actually going to take Burgos to get a finish, and I just don't exactly know how. I think it could be submission or TKO, but I guess I'll take a TKO in round number 1.
Nice, number 1. I got 2. Nice. And what are the odds?
Let's see if I picked my 4th straight underdog. I have the favorite here, so Shane Burgos is minus 170.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
wow.
Fine.
Yeah, this is just where Cub. I mean, I think he gets in there and kind of blitzes him.
So what's Cub?
Cub is plus 140.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, if you can get Cub at like plus 180, then or like even close to 2, then you're finishing your parlays on this and covering with Cub. But yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Shane Burgos just because he has more submission finishes than TKOs, which surprised me for sure. But I think that his grappling may get underestimated, and would not surprise me if it was a submission win for him.
Fair play. Okay, so
this is one of my more confident picks on the card.
I'm with you on that one. So the co-main event, we have Derek Brunson versus Elias Theodorou, and I'll be breaking down Theodorou. I said that wrong. Yeah, it's Theodorou. So he comes into this fight 8-2 inside the UFC. I believe he's a very underrated middleweight. He has extremely good movement. Circles on the outside. Has very good kicks on the outside. He keeps you at kicking distance. He hasn't got the best striking, but doesn't exactly need it because he implements his movement game with the kicks on the outside so well that he can still beat good guys. I was at his fight in Liverpool. He was decent in that fight, but got to like the 3rd round, and he was. You can force Elias to fight if you're in the fight towards the end of the 2nd round and in the 3rd. No doubt he's going to continue that game, but you can definitely shut the door and close him in the later rounds. Derek Brunson is pretty decent. I like his striking. Great takedown defense, even though he's not going to need it in this fight. I would be completely shocked if Elias tried that. So he's been head kick finished like 3 times now in his career, if not more. So obviously Elias likes the kicking game. Watch out for the head kick if you're Derek Brunson. Mix it up. Shoot for a takedown, and just try and shut off Elias's game, pretty much. I'd say it's a decent co-main. It's obviously better than last week's. Derek Brunson has been sat on Fortnite all week. He plays that game a lot. He's sat on it right now, actually, as we're doing this breakdown.
It's like 5 o'clock Eastern time in America, so it's kind of concerning he's playing Fortnite at 5 o'clock on Fight Week.
Yeah, he's just getting that Fortnite session. He does that pretty much every day. I'm going to take Derek Brunson, man. I think if he can, be in the fight and avoid that head kick, come round 3, I think he's going to make it real dirty. I think round 3 is going to be crazy in this fight. And I'm going to take Derek Brunson to get a round 3 TKO.
Okay. I will be breaking down the 35-year-old Derek Brunson. He is 18-7 now with 11 TKOs and 3 submissions. 9-5 in the UFC, but currently on a 2-fight losing streak. getting TKO'd by Stylebender and Jacare inside of 1 round. So I think we know what to expect from Brunson at this point. Lots of forward action, some reckless punches that are surprisingly effective at disorienting and sometimes putting away opponents. I mean, he's put away opponents with great footwork like Machida. So Elias no way has better footwork than him, although maybe later in his career that can be argued. But I think this is definitely an interesting matchup with Elias. I think at any point Brunson can catch and put away Theodorou. So I think your 3rd round TKO pick is reasonable. My question is, can he? And I'm just not sure about that. I think Elias may be putting on a clinic with footwork and cardio here, and making it look a lot like he did against Eric Anders. I think it could be really great if we see Brunson become a wrestler in this fight and try to really make it dirty in that way. I think that that could be Brunson's path to victory. If he does that, I really give him a shot, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to look to keep this on the feet and try to catch Theodorou, and Theodorou is going to slip away from him a lot, land a lot of body kicks and leg kicks, and also if he needs it to help with the Canadian judges could be in order here. Either way, I think this is an important fight for Brunson, but I'm going to take Theodorou, and I'll take Theodorou to get a close decision, but a decision win.
Nice.
So,
and the odds?
That's our, 2nd or 3rd disagreement?
3rd.
3rd? And, it opened as a pick'em, and it is now -110 for Theodorou, -120 for Brunson.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. That's a really close fight, and that's like the 10th hard fight to predict on this card.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of easy ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just hope Derek Brunson comes off Fortnite soon and does some training.
Yeah, maybe he's doing a late night training session.
Maybe that is his training. We don't know.
Well, we may know after the fight.
Do we know where Derek Brunson trains? Has he got his own gym? I believe he has his own gym, bro.
Does he train out? Well, maybe like his kid is using his account or something.
Bro, I saw it on Embedded. I hope you're right there, but
yeah, he's 35 years old. Why is he playing Fortnite?
Don't start a war.
Sorry. According to a particular website I'm checking, it says Jackson Winklejohn.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope so.
He should probably get training though.
Yeah.
Just my opinion though.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the main event of the evening, which we're on a 4-fight main event streak right now. So let's see if one or both of us can make it 5 here. So you want to lead us off?
Yes. Okay. So we have Raging Al versus the Cowboy, and I'll be breaking down Al. Comes into this fight 9 wins, 2 losses inside the UFC. He's an extremely well-rounded lightweight. He can grapple with you. His conditioning is great. Very sharp boxing. Just a really underrated, well-rounded lightweight. I was at the Habib Al fight, where he took it on very, very short notice. And, it was a 50-43, right? A very dominant the performance by Habib. But, Al kept in that fight, man. He, competed. It was dominant, but he never gave up. He didn't get submitted. And he went 25 minutes with, an extremely good guy in Habib. So I'm looking at this fight. I'm trying to break this fight down. Donald Cerrone, has an arson on the feet, man. He's got those knees, those head kicks. He can take you down and submit you. He has great jiu-jitsu. We both know how good Donald Cerrone is. I could see him getting a head kick finish or a knee. But, it's such a tough main event to break down. And there's one thing that I really took into account for making my pick in this fight. Now, most people hearing what I'm about to say may be like, I'm not going to take your main event pick because I know what you decided it based on, and it probably wasn't the greatest way to decide. But just like I said about Corey Sandhagen with what I felt with the Dom Cruz similarities, I'm just going to speak what I believe. And if you think it's stupid, that's fair play to you. If you can somehow see and agree, then that's also fair play. But I think there's a big IQ difference in this fight. I think Al is an extremely intelligent man. You're not just a state agent and top 10, top 5 best lightweight in the world unless you're an extremely intelligent man. Now watch his fights. And like I said, despite being dominated by Khabib, he's stuck in there. And just listening to interviews recently with Al, he says he could be the best at anything as long as there's not a disadvantage like in basketball. He believes he can be the best at everything. Like I said, Donald Cerrone can finish this fight at any point in those first 10 minutes. Even round 5 he could finish it. He has an arsenal of strikes on the feet and great jiu-jitsu. But I just think the pressure and the choices Al makes in this fight, I just think that's going to be the difference here. I think what we predicted for Alexander Hernandez is going to be similar in this fight. I just think Al is going to be smart about it. He's not going to rush in too much. He's going to pick the right shots at the right times. And I see him winning a very good fight via decision.
All right, I will be breaking down Donald Cowboy Cerrone. The 36-year-old is 35-11 now with 10 TKOs and 17 submissions, and that's 35 wins. He is 22-8 in the UFC, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he's faced a who's who of fighters at 155 and 170. I won't go through the list. It's a little bit of everybody. But Donald, he was counted out at 170 by a lot of people, including me. And then he got the win against Mike Perry when he was an underdog. And even his last fight at 155 against Alexander Hernandez, a lot of people, including myself, going in, thought he was going to outpace Cowboy. And Dad Bod Cowboy is kind of a new brand of Cowboy here. With regards to your intelligent comment, I think that in the past, I would agree with you. The past type of Donald Cerrone kind of was more instinctual with his fighting and didn't quite use as much intelligence. But this new kind of new mode of Cerrone I've seen is, I think, a fellow intelligent fighter. I even have in my notes that he's fighting a fellow intelligent fighter in Iaquinta, and that this fight, I think it's really, really close. I'm just not sure how I see it going, honestly, and I think that Cerrone looks to use a lot more kickboxing in this one, and I just don't see him being able to get Al down at all or even threaten for a takedown. And I think then it is down to octagon positioning and who has more of the forward pressure, and I see that being Al. I think the key in this fight for Cerrone is focusing on his leg kicks and really using those a lot. But, I think that Al just he fights everyone really close who's not named Khabib. And I think this being 5 rounds is really a huge key. I think that it may be back and forth and may come down to the 5th. And I'm siding with Al Iaquinta, and I think it's probably the first time ever that I am going with Al. I don't think I've ever picked him, and honestly, I've slowly just gained a lot of respect for him. Kevin Lee's one of my favorite fighters, and to be able to, see how he really just out-game planned, out-maneuvered, and has completely changed the trajectory of Kevin Lee's career, I'm just very impressed with Al Iaquinta, and it's leading to me picking him here by decision. I think it's a really close fight, But yeah, we're gonna actually agree again. So either the
Nice.
main event streak continues to 5 or we start anew. But definitely a close fight, and either guy can win it for sure. But yeah, I will take Iaquinta by decision.
Nice.
And looking at the odds here, we have Donald Cerrone coming in at plus 120, Iaquinta minus 140.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's legit. That's legit lining.
yep.
Yeah, man, that could even shift towards a pick'em because Donald Cerrone is. I agree with you. He is looking revived, and the arson he has, we know we've seen it for years. You know, he's
Yeah.
a great guy. I just believe, Al's gonna make the right decisions at the right times. But
I think Cerrone finds a way to maneuver this fight to the ground and can get his grappling. I think he can submit Iaquinta, though.
Yeah. I mean,
I
Kevin
just
Lee took his back in both fights. So,
Right, that's what I'm saying, and I think that Donald's choke game is better than Kevin Lee's, but I think Kevin Lee has one of the best back taking games in all of MMA. So I don't know how Cerrone takes his back to get there, but if he does, I think he can threaten a lot. But yeah, I think Iaquinta being able to train for 5 rounds here, he's shown he can go 5 rounds when he wasn't training for 5 rounds. I expect him to only look more so here when he's able to prepare for it.
yeah. Hit me with your fight of the night.
Could be the main event very easily. It could be so many of these fights with them being so close. Yeah, I'll say the main event will be my fight of the night, though.
Yep. Okay. I'd say. Wait. Which fight would you take if you couldn't pick main? So you've got main, but if you had to pick another.
If I had to pick another, either Brad Katona, I'll say Brad Katona and Merab Dvalishvili.
Okay. I'll agree with you on main event fight of the night, and if I had to pick one besides the main event, I'm gonna say Derek Brunson and Theodorou. I think it's gonna get crazy. I hope so. Anyway.
I hope you're right. I think that could be a real mess of a fight.
Bro, I'm telling you, I watched Elias in Liverpool, and
Right.
he was bloodied on that third round. So
Yeah. Well, who is he fighting in Liverpool?
Trevor, who was he fighting?
Trevor Smith.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
All right. Well, fair play, fair play. Well, yeah. Other than Macy and Shane Burgos, I say would be my 2 that I would build some parlays around.
Yeah.
Making this.
Who would I build parlays around? I'd definitely agree with Macy. And I'm gonna say I'm gonna give at least 3 parlays to Brad Katona.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think he's gonna have a good performance. So
Yeah. This will be a light betting week for me. This card is just going to be more about enjoying the fights. They're just so close, and there's just not enough that I really have a huge confidence in. So, yeah.
I'm going to be a degenerate as always. I'm going to at least have a minimum of 8. So, get chatting in the comments with your bets because we respond always. We always respond to pretty much every comment. I've enjoyed doing this breakdown with you, Aaron. Yeah, peace.
Well, that was a nice, awkward conclusion. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We had a good, however long it was, till the end there.
An hour and 15.
Yeah, we had a good hour and 14 and a half until that last salutation at the end. I should have just not even said anything back. I should have just left dead air after you said peace. And then,
well, one thing I want to say is make sure you give credit to Chico. He was a good dog.
Yeah. Chico was good other than, he wanted those leg kicks. So Chico wants leg kicks, and he's not afraid to make it known. So thank you, everybody, for listening, especially if you listen to the last 30 seconds here. What are you doing with your life? Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the fights, and we will see you in a couple weeks with Rose Namajunas and Andrew. Next week, Rose Namajunas and Andreevich. UFC 237, they just don't stop. There's one next week and one the following week.
We're here every week.
then we have a couple of weeks off until the beginning of June. So we have 2 more fight cards coming up. But yeah, thank you everybody. Don't forget to like and comment. Enter this giveaway. We have a lot of different comments. You might as well make another comment entering the giveaway with your 4 picks, including the main event and the methods. So thank you everybody for listening, and enjoy the fights. Peace out.
Peace.